Earlier this week, federal judge Mark Goldsmith in Detroit issued an extraordinary order blocking deportations to Iraq. Now, what he did and why he did it says volumes about the way the U.S. government is currently implementing immigration policy. Now, the issue goes back to the difference between Trump's first travel ban and Trump's second travel ban. The first travel ban had 7 countries. Second travel ban, only 6. Who's missing? The answer is Iraq. Iraq was taken off the list between the first and second ban. Why was that? Well, not because it's suddenly safer in Iraq or because Iraqis are somehow suddenly less likely to be terrorists or Iraqi grandmothers are safer than other grandmothers. No, it was for one specific reason, because the administration cut a deal with Iraq. Iraq said, if you take us off the list, we'll start accepting people back that you're trying to deport. The administration said, sounds good to us, guess you're no longer a danger. So they took Iraq off the list and they immediately moved to try to implement over 1,400 old deportation orders against Iraqis living in the United States. Some of these orders went back as far as 1986. Now, these are people who since that time have been living in their communities, raising their families, working at their jobs, going through their businesses, who suddenly found themselves being, in many cases, picked up and detained. And many of these people were religious minorities, including minority Christians, who the first travel ban was supposed to protect. So suddenly these folks found themselves facing immediate implementation of a deportation order. And they went to the federal courts and said, we need to have the opportunity to go in front of a court and make our claims about why you shouldn't send us back to Iraq, about what's changed in Iraq in the last 25 years, and how we are now subject to being tortured and killed if we're returned. The government, for its part, said, there's no need to slow this process down. We can go ahead and implement it. They went ahead and chartered a plane to start flying people back. Well, Judge Goldsmith finally ruled this week that you can't do that. People have to have the opportunity to make their claims for asylum, for withholding of removal under the Convention Against Torture. And you can't do that in a system where the government is suddenly reviving these ancient orders and then giving you no time in order to contest them. Now, the government said this can only be done through immigration court. Federal courts have no role in this. And Judge Goldstein said, well, sometimes that's true. But here we have what he called, quote, a compelling confluence of extraordinary circumstances. That the basic issue was the writ of habeas corpus, which he called the fundamental guarantor of liberty. And he mentioned that how the people involved had been forced to engage in, quote, a feverish search for legal assistance to assert rights against the removal of persons confronting the grisly fate petitioners face if deported to Iraq. He also noted how this effort was, quote, significantly impeded by the government's successive transfers of many of these detainees across the country, separating them from their lawyers and their families and their friends who could help them. And the court noted and went into some detail about how the way this was handled was preventing people from their right of having lawyers by limiting their access to lawyers, limiting their phone calls, and how this disrupted their right of counsel. In this specific situation, Judge Goldsmith said, where the government is trying to move quickly and at the same time stopping people from being able to assert their rights, that a federal district court has to act, as he put it, as a first responder to protect the rights of habeas corpus and the rights of due process, just in order to allow these people to even make their claims in the first place. Now, as I've said in these videos before, as recently as when I talked about the Border Patrol and them stopping asylum seekers, this is not the way the justice system is supposed to work in America. In America, people are supposed to have the right under the law to make their claims to courts, to make meaningful claims and have those claims heard and decided. Of these more than 1,400 Iraqis who have been in the United States for many, many years, some of them may be successful in proving that they will be tortured or killed when returned. Others may not be. but they at least deserve the opportunity to make their case. And a system in which the government prevents them from doing that by speeding up a process without warning and by preventing people from having legal representation is not an American process. So thanks to Judge Goldsmith, these Iraqis and the other Iraqis across the country will have the opportunity to make their claims. But this order is limited to the case in front of him. How many more times is the government going to attempt to do this, to scoop people up and put them out of the country without a chance to make their claim? Now, if you have a legal issue, one that you need to consult an attorney, and maybe it's been on the back burner for a little while, or you don't know if it's something that you really need to pursue now or not, now is the time that you need to be talking to somebody. Don't be in the situation like the Iraqis in this case, who didn't know or felt they had the time to address their issue when they really didn't. Don't wait until it's an emergency. If you feel that you can have some help from us, please feel free to call us at area code 423-402-0608 or to contact us online at www.lesterlaw.org. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong. We'll see you next week.